I do get access to very wealthy people, and a little DFS sofa is just not going to do it.
The revenue is 3 to 4 times the average shepherd's hut in the area. Escape competition through authenticity, and then you can charge whatever you like for it.
There's many Magnolia. They all look the same, but all the prices were the same. Your execution has to be on point, but it doesn't take that much more money. Everything was always about detail, beautiful trimmings, the way your cushions are plumped, the inners of your cushions. That 10% there, the collectors.
What would you suggest to someone as a good starting point for selecting items to make it feel more luxurious?
Property is theatre. When you go to a nice restaurant, it's because it's theatre. Buying the rose, theatre. The colours, it's theatre. The scents, the smells, the way it looks, the way things feel. If you want to stand out, you have to be brave.
Instead of spending ages overthinking, having analysis paralysis, just buy all of the things, and then instead of wasting time, just return them. So we're talking about difference in price, £400 plus per night versus £100 a night. We have charged £600 a night in the beginning.
To be fair, if you're not interested in that, you're crazy. We're just going to show you how we've done it, and then if you get something from it, perfect.
Testing, go. We're doing the first podcast.
We are doing the first podcast. All right, mate. Okay, so introduction. My name's Francis. This is Matthew. This is our first podcast, so I'm sure they'll get better as we go along. What we want to kind of like bring across to you guys is Matt and I have established a little business, and it's going quite well. It's expanding quite quickly, and we just want to see if we can help people outside with just new and novel ideas to be able to get more punch for their more bang for their punch is what I'm saying.
I think one of the interesting things about when me and Francis have conversations is Francis is very much a designer.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk more just like me and you rather than say Francis. But one of the things that I find interesting about our conversations is that you're a designer, and you also can make things. And I think from a very rigid kind of like engineering thing where there's lots of restrictions on and boundaries, and I'm trying to fit a solution within a boundary. And you're thinking of things from outside of the boundaries.
Definitely.
And then I'm constantly thinking of practical solutions and like figuring out how can I make this real? And then, but sometimes that like restricts my thinking.
Right.
And when I bounce ideas off you come up with an idea that's completely outside of my current thinking. I think that's quite useful to like chat out in a podcast.
I think it is. I think just so you guys know our backgrounds a little bit, which is why we established this kind of really mutual relationship where we both bounce off each other, which is why we want to do these videos, because we want to show people how bouncing ideas, being creative is definitely the way forward to be able to just to make an interesting product. The products that we've got are, at the moment, we do little holiday lets. And just to give you a little bit of a background, I come from the interior design world. I actually specialize in bespoke furniture. I've had over 20 years of experience now running my own business, and I do get access to very wealthy people who want pieces of furniture that they're not going to buy in the shops. These houses, properties I work in, they're massive properties, and a little DFS sofa is just not going to do it. So I get hired to come up, or commissioned, to come up with big solutions for big properties. And one of the things that I really enjoy about what I do is it's almost like I get carte blanche, and basically the more creative I get, I realize that these properties look better. So then that's my background, and Matthew's got a slightly different background where he's more engineer orientated, and he works very well within the confines of measurements, which is really, really handy because I don't. For me, it's just give me a piece of clay and I will make something look beautiful. Matt is give him some ruler, some pencils, and some paper or CAD, and he will make that work. But together, we've worked out that we really work well together. And sometimes Matthew holds me back, and sometimes I push Matthew forward, and that combination is killer. We've realised that it's quite unique, and our products they show this, the fact that we get value for our creativity, it means it works. And we just want to share that a little bit with everybody outside there. Just if you're out there thinking, how do we start a business like that? Well, we're just going to show you how we've done it, and then if you get something from it, perfect. Matt, just tell them a little bit about what you do.
Yeah. So the way I would describe myself is, I describe myself as an engineer, but I do pretty much anything. I like to go online and figure things out on YouTube, Google, use ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I really like figuring out things with numbers, statistics. I like coming up with a solution for any engineering problem. So to start off with, about some of my experience, I used to work in carbon fiber manufacturing, making things for Formula One companies. I also had my own company making carbon fiber hockey sticks.
Yeah.
And then I just enjoy making things. So things like concrete worktops, things like shepherd's huts, as we're sitting in at the moment. This is one of our own shepherd's huts, which is called the business is called Little Lux London.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of these huts on a farmland.
Yeah.
And one of the topics of conversation that we were thinking that would be a good idea to discuss today was about how you can increase your nightly rate and charge more just through being a little bit more creative, adding that extra 10% of effort into your creation, and just escape competition through authenticity, which is basically avoiding having any competition with anyone by doing something completely different. So you are the only one who has this unique stay, and then you can charge whatever you like for it, pretty much.
I think
reason.
I think that's really important. One of the things that I've always worked out really early on in my own profession with the interior stuff is that I just never I refuse to see competition as competition. I when I first started, I was very much restricted to limits of what the interior designers wanted and all that kind of stuff. I was a lot younger then as well, so it was hard for me to establish myself. But as time went on, I realized that I had better ideas than a lot of these interior designers. And the younger the interior designers were, they had kind of like less hang-ups about relinquishing a little bit of design concept ideas and solutions, and I gained a voice over time. And with time, what came was people then had more faith in me, and then eventually this is how it happened. I went from being a tool to being a creative tool to being able to provide a service for my clients, which was a little bit more. So yes, okay, one would say I'm an upholsterer or I'm a carpenter, but it's not. I'm a hell of a lot more than that. And with time, I was able to express myself. And now my clients are all based on people saying, Francis, we've got this problem. Can you solve it for us? And that's how I did it. So did I train as an interior designer? No. Can I interior design? Oh, hell yeah, I can. I do it really, really well. And that all comes back from just having years and years of working with really good interior designers. One, I'm very creative and I'm very artistic, and just being able to believe in myself that if I can draw something down, which is why I don't get fixated with lines too much. I love a curved line. I love that stuff. And then even the mediums that I use to create what I've got to do, I find that a beautiful challenge. And some mediums just don't work for what I've drawn. But I will create what I've drawn, and I get a massive kick out of imagining something, drawing it on a piece of paper, not even limiting myself to what to how my flow goes, and then working out solutions to how I'm going to create that. My swoops have to be like the way I've drawn it, otherwise I've washed down my idea, my creative idea. And working with Matthew has been fantastic because Matthew comes with his own ideas, his his own sets of rules, which he works. He's fantastic at it, and just the pair of us being able to combine those skills has ultimately created a little company, littleluxlondon.com, that we're expressing.
Little plug.
Yeah, little plug. Which we're expressing ourselves, and it's not just a business, it is that unique business that we're making. And like going back to what we were saying, competition, there is no competition. You know, we do this, we don't do it thinking about competition. Somebody wants to copy us, brilliant, fantastic, go for it. This is why we're sharing this, because that mindset of abundance is 100% what makes you stand out. There's many magnolia little holiday lets out there which are perfectly beautiful and they're clean, but one of the things Matt noticed, which is this is what he's good at, he did some research, and so loads of these beautiful magnolia house lets and little holiday lets, they all look the same, but all the prices were the same. They could only charge, you know,
£100 to £150 a night. Yeah.
And why? Because they're competing. They're competing. We just thrown it out there. We're not going to compete. We're just going to be extremely unique. And through my experience, I know that you can filter out your market by being unique.
Let's talk about what is it that makes a piece of furniture. So we're talking about difference in price.
Yeah.
Because the topic is how you can rent your property out for £400 plus per night versus £100 a night. Yeah. Which is what we're doing currently with our business.
And I mean, to be fair, if you're not interested in that, you're crazy, because the equivalent of being able, like, one property can yield you the equivalent of two properties, and it only takes a little bit of creativity, being brave. Execution is absolutely everything. Your execution has to be on point, but it doesn't take that much more money.
Yeah,
that's what Matt and I have understood. And I've got Matt, who's a money guy, so he also is very resourceful at finding things at cost, at hustling and getting things at cost. And you'll be surprised how you can get top materials at the equivalent. So, an example, you can get a good solid wooden floor at the same price as you'll get a what do they call these floors?
Faux vinyl, faux wood.
Yeah. So by hustling and being on your toes, you can produce really good products for the same budget that you would use to produce a hut or a little holiday let that you can only, you're capped at £170, for example. Well, actually, just go out there, hustle a little bit and work it out. And if you execute right, you can threefold that. You can threefold that income. And the reason we're doing this is because we've done it. We're doing it and it works. And we just want to, share that. I've just seen an eagle fly past our hut, which is awesome. We're in the middle of the countryside, by the way.
So, what is it that you think the high net worth individuals and people that want to spend more on furniture or interior design are looking for? And what's the difference between, for example, a £100 coffee table versus a £10,000 coffee table? Okay, what's the difference between
I know
a high-end holiday let versus a average holiday let?
So for starters, if you are trying to cater for the market of £150 a night or £170 a night or anything below £200 a night, you're catering to the masses, and you can do that. That's
90% of the market.
90% of the market, you can do that. One of the things that I recognized with my furniture design was detail. If you focus on everything was always about detail, beautiful trimmings, beautiful this, the way your cushions are plumped, the inners of your cushions. When you focus your craft that intensely, what you do is you filter out the 90%. One, it's really silly because one of the things I've recognized is people have limits on themselves. They cap themselves. And they think, oh, I can't afford that, or I can't, but you can afford that. What I think primarily is important is if you focus on detail and execution, your market, the people you reach out to, the people that want that level of detail, they expect to pay for that. But also these people want when they're going to go out and rent somewhere for a night or two, they want that level of detail. And that's how you find your niche market. And it's, I think it's a worthwhile, to pursue that, because one, you don't have to rent out your hut as often as you do. So if you think, oh my God, at 380 pounds a night, how many people are out there that's going to do that? Well, you don't have to worry about that so much, because you may only rent it out half the amount, but
you're also wearing the property down less.
You wear the
There's less maintenance.
That's right. So there are gains for that.
And also, generally, people that spend more money, they appreciate the property, and they don't wreck it.
100%.
So it will last longer, because the type of people you're bringing in are actually looking after the property. They appreciate beauty. They want to look after the space because they enjoy being in that space.
If you think about, so we're talking about the 90%. So these are rough guesstimates and percentages that we're thinking. We really don't know exactly what it is. But if you think we're trying to provide something for the 10% up above, if you think about the 10%, what do? They're into they work really hard for their money. Everyone works really hard for their money, but that 10% there, they're collectors. They collect either cars, they have holiday homes abroad, they have very bespoke packages done for their vacations and stuff like that. And the reason they do that is because they have a very unique mindset. So tapping into that is a great window opportunity, because there are people out there who want that extra thing. So so excellence is, I think, key. And I think excellence is also achievable. For anyone can achieve it. They just got to it might be daunting at the beginning, because you may not have a creative mind. Or you may be a sole runner of this business, and you might be you might have really good grasp of finances and all that kind of stuff, but you may be being held back a little bit because you lack creativity. Well, do you know what? Get yourself an interior designer to come and help you out. And initially, you might have to pay them for the one-off project. Even if that interior designer charges you, I don't know, for a very basic package for a little holiday home, she may charge you, let's just say, a starting package, very basic, is going to be minimum £5,000. But if you want them to get really involved, it may cost you 15 grand. But if you're able to get £350 plus a night,
you've boosted your revenue by 3 times.
Yeah, so you have to have that,
and paid it off in 1 year.
Absolutely, it's a no-brainer. So if you are financially inclined, I know this is a hard pill to swallow. You're saying, "Holy shit, I've got it into my profit." That is, you need to have an abundance mindset and think about, I'm going to throw that into it. It's a good investment, especially if your properties are an investment, and just do it.
I think one of the things that was interesting when we first started working together on this project, because I hadn't worked with a designer, like interior designer type before, is you were suggesting, I was asking your opinion on different things.
That's right.
Like
that's how we started.
And I said, well, what kind of tiles do you think for the bathroom? I was thinking of doing some, what's it called? They're called subway tiles.
Right.
I was thinking of subway tiles, and then doing them stacked up vertically on the wall, or potentially doing herringbone.
Yeah.
And then you came to me and you said, why don't you use these Hoxton style bottle green sort of color ones that I've seen in India.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if that will suit. I don't know if that will suit, because we got really light colored green in the windows, and I'd already chosen the exterior kind of aesthetic, and I thought, I want to choose something that matches the exterior, and then the theme can be the same. And one thing that you did is you made me think, how can I integrate things that completely don't seem like they'll work together?
And they do.
And then they do.
That's the art.
And one of the things that you helped me understand was that if you finish things to an extremely accurate level, it can look like it was meant to be.
That's right.
And it doesn't have to actually match the same color.
That's right.
If the finish is all within for me, I think of it as systems. Like I want the colors to all be the same because I'm an engineer. I go, I want this color to match that color, and then it should also be like a complementary color to this color.
So that's like a format.
That's a format. That's a format. But the format can be a very high standard finish instead of being a color format.
Right. That's good that you say that. So so when you I'm now talking to the 90% of people out there, you think, I love my house, it looks great, I feel like, but you know what, when I open up these country garden magazines and all that, these houses look amazing. That's what Matt is actually touching on. Being able to execute and being brave with your choices. If the execution's right, that's what makes a house special. That's what makes a property special. That's how, when you see these gorgeous houses on these magazines, you think, I wish I could have that. You can have that, but you've got to be brave, and you've got to do some research. And
that's why statement furniture works. It's something that is completely different in the room, but then everything focuses on that one thing in the room, and then you can build. I don't know. That's kind of what when I work with you, I see you like make a decision on something completely random in the room. And then start building from that, kind of like doodling.
Yeah, that's what it is, a doodle. That's what I do as a creative. I doodle. I draw lines. Many of the drawings that I do don't work. The majority do. Many don't. Or maybe I start an idea and then I think, actually, you know what, it doesn't quite work. But that doesn't stop me from doodling. And
I think that's the value of an artist.
Yeah,
and that's something that is not easily learned. It takes you can only get it through experience.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's the thing that sets you apart in terms of when you look, like you were talking about the country magazine.
Yeah.
When you look at an interior design, you go, wow, how does my house not look like that?
Yeah.
And it's because someone has had the experience over time of seeing that color work next to that color.
Right.
But it has to be with velvet because that means that it matches.
That's right.
This kind of theme, and that it can't have these buttons nailed on because that's not for that theme. It needs to be clean lines. It needs to have piping.
Yeah, I think. Look, basically, one thing I wanted to get across is property is theatre. Yeah. So when you go to a nice restaurant, it's because it's theatre. When you go on a Valentine's Day, it's theatre. Buying the rose, it's theatre. The colours, it's theatre. The smell, it's theatre. If you go to all these really beautiful hotels, the scents, the smells, the way it looks, the way things feel. So you have to be brave. If you want to stand out, you have to be brave and go for it. And Matt's journey and I it's been brilliant because Matt is formatted and it was formatted in a certain way, and I've really enjoyed. I mean, almost I've been like getting some weird, sick kind of pleasure out of it. It's like pushing his mind and seeing him struggle, and I used to enjoy that. And I used to just say to him, well, you've got to be brave. You just got to see it out. Yeah. But how do you know, Matt would say, but how do you know? I know because I've worked in so many properties. I've worked in so many, and I've worked in properties that things don't work. And I've even created furniture really reluctantly. And it depends on the culture of where your clients are from. You've got to chase the money at the end of the day. And if, I try to advise my clients, it ain't going to work. But at the end of the day, they want it and they push you. I do it and I do everything to standard. I don't drop my standards at all. But by doing that, I've expanded my knowledge of what works and what doesn't work. And all at the cost of my clients. I've always tried to guide them the right way, but I've seen it. So I've gone down that road, tried to give advice, and I've seen the end product and I've gone like, that is a half-assed attempt at making something look like it was never you won't ultimately get that decision. And then eventually the client will come back to me a year later and say, look, it didn't quite work, did it? And I was like, I was trying to tell you. And then that's when I started giving carte blanche and people saying, well, what do you think? And then that's through practice of doing that, being commissioned to do that, is how I was really fortunate enough to realize, oh shit, I've got a good eye. I've actually got a better eye than most of my interior designers have. But even them, cut them some slack. They're growing, they're expanding, and they have become very good at what they do now. And And in the interior design world, one of the things I've always come to recognize is certain designers are extremely good at certain concepts. You have a country style home designer, and I've seen them then get a contemporary commission, and I've seen them completely destroy it. And in my head, I was always like, do you know what? Wouldn't it be wonderful? Wouldn't it be wonderful to have a design house, which is what I think Matt and I will eventually grow into, and just tap into, depending on our whatever project we're working on, just getting that one of those interior designers that are good for that, getting them in and using them for that, and then getting the contemporary one and getting them in for that, and that way you keep things fresh. You're constantly using different interior designers. The ideas are great. They're doing something that they're really, really good at doing. I would not get an interior designer who's good at contemporary and say, do my country house. It's too open. They're going to get it wrong. You need to get people that are good at what they do. I'm really fortunate that I've done, but by being that guy that creates somebody's vision, I've been able to develop and actually get an understanding of, I know how a contemporary house should look. I know how, but there's certain things there are definitely certain things within that idea that I would think, I don't quite know how to execute that because I haven't done it. So I would have no problems getting an interior designer and go, right, help me out here because I've got this idea, and I say, oh, we'll just do this, just do that. When Matt and I were kind of like flirting with the idea of working with each other. One of the things Matt did, he came in and he started things off, and I was brave enough to say to Matt, pull that kitchen out. We can hand make a kitchen. And Matt didn't know you can do that. I knew you can because I've done it. And then Matt would be, really? I'm like, yeah, definitely. Just keep the carcasses, but we can make all the rest of it, all the doors. That's the detail. That the doors and handles. That's when somebody realizes this isn't an IKEA kitchen. This is a handmade kitchen at the same cost as an IKEA kitchen. And Matt was fantastic. It was like a blank canvas, and you go, really? Would you help me out to make sure I get it right? I said, yeah, absolutely. And we worked like that for a little while. And it's when Matt decided he's going to get the second property, was when Matt. I was never going to ask him, but he said, look, Francis, do you want to get involved with this? And I said, look, I was waiting for you to ask me because I'm never going to ask you, but I was waiting for you to ask me because that shows that you recognize my value. And I was also very quickly letting Matt know what he contributes. I haven't got that. And so together we were like, okay, well, let's make this work. And that's the beauty of about Matt and myself's skill sets. And we ego is a massive thing. Dropping that is the first thing you need to do. Harnessing each other's talents is critical, and it's fulfilling as well. It's totally fulfilling. Everything that we've created, we've both had a hand in creating it. And Matt's taught me so many things, and I've taught Matt so many things. One on the the economics, the precision, the execution that Matt does is beautiful. And then you got me, who's just that little bit more, just a little bit more flexible in the sense that I love a massive. I like to work with a huge palette, and that for somebody who isn't like that can be really stifling. But I love it. It's like just chaos. Bring it in, and let's make something from it. And that's been a great journey. Sharing that with you, and likewise with you. I would say, for example, oh no, just buy it. Don't worry about it costing more money. And then Matt, obviously, that's me pushing the boundary. A little bit too far for someone like Matthew. And Matthew will quietly go off and go, look, I found it and I've sourced it for a lot less. And I'll be like, for me, it'll be like, oh, whatever. But Matt does, and that is also really critical because at the end of the day, it is a numbers game. Everything is a numbers game. Art by numbers is what it's all about. And and just being out there and finding partners and finding people that you can work with is what this whole journey is about.
So we were talking about the nightly rate, increasing the nightly rate from £100 to £400, which is what we've done here. We've got 2 shepherd's huts here on a farm.
Yeah.
and all the other shepherd's huts in the area are around £100 a night to £120 a night.
Yeah.
But we have charged £600 a night.
We have done,
in the beginning.
Yeah.
For the second hut that we did.
Yeah.
It's now about £450 per night.
Yeah.
Because it's off season, and this one is £350 per night.
Yeah.
So the revenue is almost 3 to 4 times that of the average shepherd's hut in the area.
Yeah.
And that we've spoken about excellence, that people who are willing to spend more are looking for accuracy, excellence, things that they can't find easily, and also thinking outside the box in terms of choosing things that don't necessarily, being bold and brave, and choosing things that you don't necessarily think will match, but then making them work together through using the theme being excellence, basically finishing things to a level that it looks like it's been done. If you for example put an industrial plant pot next to a clean contemporary plant pot, they look like they don't work together.
Yeah.
But if you finish them in a way that is
deliberate, so it looks like
it does look like it can work together.
Yeah.
So for someone like me, when we first met, who I didn't consider myself very creative. I do now.
Yeah, you are.
Consider myself more creative.
You are, yeah.
For me, visually not being particularly creative, especially in the interior design sense, what would you suggest to someone as a good starting point for selecting items to put in their rental property or in their home to make it feel more luxurious and also the ability to charge more? What would you suggest as a starting point?
I really believe that whatever endeavors you get involved with in life, especially if it's business, you must have some kind of talent towards that. So if you're into property, you've got to be into property. So if you're just getting into property because of money, you're going to have to hire a lot of people either to just take control of it. Not the most satisfying kind of outlook with it. Okay, if it works, but if you want to be able to do it yourself and you're really passionate about property and you want to express yourself and actually get rewarded and paid for that, and you're not an interior designer, then you subscribe to magazines. Just you need to expose your vision to seeing how this stuff works, and just by buying all these property magazines, you start getting an idea.
Get more exposure.
Yeah, you get more exposure. Go to stately homes. Have a little look. And
to see how different objects work together and how different colours work together.
Look,
exposing your eyes.
Absolutely. Look, the Victorian, the Victorian period was like crazy. You had the British Empire expanding over to India, and I go to India a lot. That's one of the things that broadened my vision with what could be possible was traveling to Rajasthan, which I've been many, many, many times in my life now. And I go for inspiration. And, that for me is the equivalent of it's better than a magazine because you go and you get the sense of smell. Once you experience that kind of stuff, it doesn't leave you. That stays in your mind forever. And you don't get, the Indian culture it's just so broad. They work with all mediums. They have to. They just have to. They've always had to do that. But they're so bloody creative. Listen, one of the things you've got to understand is most of our fabrics, everything we're wearing, all of us around the world, most of the things we're buying are created in India. And then they're companies come along and they design stuff and they go to India and they get things made. But
also when people go out there as a buying trip, they go and see things that are influenced by Indian designs in the first place.
That's right.
So they'll go to a factory and then go and look at the fabrics that are already there, and then they try to integrate that within existing
absolutely.
stuff as well. So that's influencing their decisions as well.
Absolutely. But the beautiful thing about that is you're merging two cultures and coming up with a certain product that is unique, because it's not only is it heavily influenced by India, and I will go on about India quite a lot in these podcasts because you have to go. It is you get an understanding of everything that's beautiful in interior design. A lot of it,
especially for soft furnishings.
So
Because they
it's
have a
just
big
fabrics.
fabric
It's just
industry, yeah.
it's their fabrics, but no, but not only fabrics. I mean, their jewelry, the way they cut stones, the way they, the lattice work, the woodwork, the craftsmanship in their carving using products that are, at hand, and then they create it. You just go into any shop and you think that's beautiful. Well, you know what? That's a bit of mango wood that somebody's worked in India, and they're passionate about and they're good. And so yeah, when you see lattice work in hotels, or when you see a beautiful bit of brass work, that's handcrafted. And
what do you mean by lattice work?
lattice work is lattice work is
Do you mean like walling, like concrete lattice,
or
or
it can be, yeah, concrete lattice, or um it, okay, so lattice work, how can I explain that? It's like
screening between rooms,
screening
or
between
like...
rooms. Lattice
Oh, I
is
think I know what you
also
mean.
what you have in a fireplace. When you have radiator covers, there's lattice work.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's basically using a piece of wood, and then you carving out beautiful shape, geometric. It's usually geometric, and then you can see through it, which is again, that's all theatre. Being able to see from one room to another room. The European culture, the US culture as well, is very much one room, one room, one room. Whereas I reckon good interior design is about actually one room,
flow between the
rooms. And that's what Matt was talking about earlier on when he said about, Francis would use this emerald green tiles, but it didn't quite tie in. I was like, no, it does tie in. The whole thing about property is that I want to be in a room and then have a look, lying down on my sofa or something. I look through to the bathroom, or I look through to the kitchen, and it entices me because it has a completely different feel in there, but it's done so beautifully. The one thing that a property should have in common is every room should be executed to the same level. Then it makes sense. Then that little gem of being able to see through a doors, or being able to look through lattice work, or being able to look through a mirror, which is a two-way mirror, and going like, what's going on there? We've done this as well in the other property, and we'll show you that another time. It's opening rooms. It's letting it's just like, and India does that like nobody else. You can be in a hotel restaurant, and then you just see through the lattice work, and you see the lobby on the other side, and it may have a library. But from the restaurant that you're eating, you're being enticed to, I think I'm going to go over there, and I'm going to have a coffee inside the library. And that's all because it's open. It's not closed doors. And and that's a really good. I mean, we work on really tiny properties. Tiny properties. What's the measurements of these things on average, Matt?
So this one is about 12 square meters.
12 square meters.
Includes a kitchenette and a shower room, and the bedroom is within the same room as the kitchenette. It's like a living area that we're sitting in at the moment.
Right, so it's just a little bit bigger than a garage, yeah? So it's a tad bit bigger, but yet through our skills and through what I do, and through like being able to execute that theatre, they feel like little labyrinths. It's a labyrinth in here, and that's the art of making tiny homes special. I mean, we have, don't make furniture small. Make furniture to the size that it's comfortable. That's really, really important. And then you work around what you want to. You work around that. You make the room work around that, and then all of a sudden, a little, like you said, whatever the square footage was, it doesn't feel small anymore because you've worked around it. And so yeah, so there are no real boundaries in any of it.
So to start with, we talked about excellence.
Yeah.
Choosing things that you don't normally see in a house, making things unique.
Yeah.
This is how to get higher prices for your nightly rate. And to enable yourself to do that, first thing is to expose yourself to more interior design through magazines. Through visiting properties, walking around, seeing properties, nice hotels, and just visually exposing yourself to more. One of the things that I thought was really interesting that you exposed me to is when it came to making decisions on what things to buy for this property. I was asking you, hey, what do you think about this? Do you think it will match? Do you think this will match? And I'll come up with like 3 or 4 choices, and then you just said, well, why don't you just get all of them, and we'll just see.
That's right.
Because I was thinking, well, I don't, with an engineering mindset, and I was thinking, oh, this needs to work.
Yeah.
If it doesn't fit within my theme, then it won't work.
That's right.
And so instead of spending ages overthinking with having analysis paralysis, just buy all of the things that you are thinking of, and then instead of wasting time, just return them, pay the return postage, or just drive and drop it off back. Because you won't learn and get that experimentation unless you actually try it. I can't thinking of an example. For example, this tap. I bought 2 different taps.
That's right.
And then I returned the one that didn't work because it didn't work. At least I've lost £5 on delivery.
But you've got the tap.
I've got the decision faster.
Of course, that's right.
And now we've tried out 2 different designs, and that one doesn't look good here. Okay, well, let's take the other one back. And for people that have builders completing the works for them, you might as well bring all the options and have them
try it out,
and then when you've decided on the designs, then return all the other stuff, and then get the builders to come in and do everything at once. Rather than going, oh, I've got the tap here, the builder's here, now I'm committed to this. Okay, well, let's just put it in.
I think that I think the secret to doing this properly is don't overcommit to a certain idea of what it is you want to create. Just be creative with it. What Matt's describing there is literally what I said earlier on. Have a huge palette of paint and experiment. You do have to.
Otherwise, you're pigeonholing down.
You do, but it's a really, really fine line. And this is like, the difference between designers, artists, and architects and engineers. All creative people, all really good at what they do. But if you do, there has to be a collaboration, because otherwise things look. Who wants a house that looks like a museum or an art gallery? Not really. So you do need to be creative. But saying that, as broad as my palette is, and as much as I like to experiment, I can't emphasize how important it is that when you start a project, you don't just go in there and think, let's just get on there, blank canvas, let's go. You must have an idea of what you're trying to create.
So with that said, how do you, if you had a blank canvas, a blank room that had just plastered walls, how do you start thinking about where to begin?
Okay, so if I walked into a room, this is how I did this with you, and this is how I do everything we do, and this is how I do my furniture as well.
Thinking about high-end clients.
I only work with high-end clients, so I've never dealt with anybody else, and I'm really fortunate. I'm fortunate that I've been exposed to that. But what I found works for me, and I come from an art design background as well, from college and stuff like that. What works for me is I will walk in a space, I will look outside of the windows, I will see what draws me in, I will get a feel for the lighting, I will get a feel for how it smells in there. I'll look at the doors and I'll see, well, you know what, if you open that up, you can go that way, you can go that way.
So it's not actually a blank canvas. Because when you walk in, you actually have lighting, natural lighting in the room. You have the way the door is opening.
Well,
you have where the switches may be.
Absolutely.
For example, those things might have already been decided.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can start working with some of these parameters already.
Straight away. And then it's almost like you've got to pitch to yourself. Your inner thoughts. You need to pitch. So it does help if you've got knowledge. So buy magazines, going to art galleries, traveling to countries that are, culturally very, very different. What you're doing there is you're feeding, and you've got a memory bank of different things. That helps. So, okay, the property is a blank canvas, but as your mind, you can't have a blank canvas. You have to.
You already had experiences.
You already have experiences, and that when you walk into what we're calling a blank canvas, when you go there, the juices just get going, and you can hear it. It's your brain saying, you know what, that would look great there, and that would look great there. And then you have to have mastered to be able to do a storyboard. It's very important to put on paper, draw out on a nice big A2 piece of card, and just we've done this with all of our properties. We'll push ideas, and my brain's exploding. My brain explodes, and then and I can see Matt, and I can talk with Matt, and then Matt goes, I don't know what you're saying. So I go, okay, well, for example, I'll just cut out a giraffe and I'll show him what I mean by this is the textures that I want. These are the patinations that I want. So you look at my storyboard and you be like, what the hell's that? There's a bloody giraffe in there, or there's a sturgeon. Okay, so the sturgeon. So Matt was talking about the second property we've got, which is called Lavish.
Little touch of grey.
Little touch of grey. Sorry, we refer it as Lavish. Little touch of grey. We're talking about the tiling, and I said to Matt, I want this room. It's very different to this hut here. I want it to be animalistic. It's all about theatre. And I said, so each little holiday home we've got, they're all themed. So we're not just repeating, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. You could do that if you want to do that, but it wouldn't be fulfilling to both Matt and I. And we also like that our clients actually they come to one of our pods, and then after they go, actually, you know what, we're going to try the next one. So that's quite a cool thing as well. Anyway, I digress. Going back to the tiles. So Matt was like, oh, I don't want to do the herringbone. I said, no, we're going to do the herringbone because I want this room to be totally animalistic. I want whoever stays here, I want them to get they feel like they're almost like in the Serengeti, but they're also in a beautiful English townhouse. And Matt's like going, oh, I don't understand what you're saying. Like, what don't. So what I was trying to say to him, I wanted that property to have the formality of an English townhouse, but with the English culture, especially Victorian times, they travelled a lot. They picked up trinkets. They brought back stuff from India. They brought back stuff from Africa. And that combination is wild. It's absolutely wild. But that's what makes that property work. So when it came to the ensuite bathroom, Matt was like, I said, I want it to be like a sturgeon. That was the animal. I had. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, it's a fish.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I was like, no, look. And lo and behold, the colour of the tile that I already said to Matt, this is what I want. Lo and behold, I then did obviously I then go on the internet and I start looking at sturgeon so I can show. Then I boomed up this picture. Lo and behold, the colour of the sturgeon which is herringbone. If you look at the scales, it's almost herringbone. It was the exact same colour as the tiles that I wanted. So already I had that. I was tapping into that resource of what I wanted, and just by doing that, Matt was like, "Shit, that works. That's really great." And I'll show you one day. I'll show you the our little storyboard, and I'll show you what we achieved. And for me and for Matt, that's when we walk into that bathroom, I see a sturgeon all the time, and we did that throughout that hut. We created everything in there, even the sort of like built into our headboards, we have like a little recess area. And Matt was like, I mean, my juices were flowing massively. And I had this beautiful Ralph Lauren fabric that I kept it. I had it for like 15 years. And Matt was like, what fabric we're going to put now? I said, I already know what it's going to be. And it's basically like a vision of the Serengeti. And I was like, oh, I'm not too sure about it. And I went, yeah. And even Matt's wife was like, oh, I'm not too sure about it. But once we did it, and once we created it, and once the lighting was there, it literally looked like dusk in the Serengeti. And the bedroom all of a sudden it was like being in Africa. And that's what was beautiful about that second hut that we've done. That's what's beautiful about it. It's like you just turn around and everything's just got some feel of organic, of nature, and then you obviously have your sound systems and stuff like that, and you can inject that. Going back to senses, put the sounds, have a really good sound system inside your hut, so people can, and when they come into your huts, have the sound that you want. You know, so if you want to have the sound of the rainforest, absolutely put the, and that adds to the theatre. And smell is really important. Make your hut smell the way you think it should smell. So when people open a door and they got the sound and they got the visuals and they got the smell, my God, that people just melt. You know, you don't have to win people over.
So that's touching on a third topic.
Yeah.
So we talked about highly detailed finish as being one of the things that you can do to set yourself apart.
Yeah.
The second thing was to not limit yourself to choosing and going down one rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Making sure you buy lots of different items.
Yeah.
And then choosing between them before you have someone build it for you.
Yeah.
And then you can just return them. Like, don't think of it as wasted money. Think of it as your experimentation.
Yeah.
And being bold with those decisions so that you can try and match things that work together.
Yeah.
And then to increase your ability to think of different ideas, you walk around. Third idea was to expose yourself to more.
Yeah.
Both through magazines, you could use Pinterest as well,
traveling,
Instagram,
all of it,
traveling, maybe going and visiting Soho houses, or other hotels that you really like that might inspire you, taking pictures of those things, and then maybe working around one object that you particularly like finding something similar.
Yeah.
And you were talking just now about, what was it? Sorry.
What was it I was talking about?
You were speaking about
senses.
Yes. So another thing you can do is engage more senses. So for example, in this property we have it's more of a country style property, and when someone walks in we have the music playing on a very low volume, and it's relaxing kind of it's relaxing sort of sounds of birds singing, a very light guitar.
That's right.
A tiny bit of piano in the background, and you put it on such a low volume that when they come in, it doesn't disturb them.
That's right.
But they get the sound of that, and they get the smell of this scent that we have on the wall here, which just gives them a very relaxing feeling. And then as soon as they walk in, they see the colours in the room. They see, oh wow, this is very visually interesting.
Yeah.
What's that sound? Like, that's really interesting. And then they have the smells, and it becomes a more sensory experience. And the other hut that we have smooth jazz music playing.
That's right.
And that's to change the tone. So this hut is called Little Aslan's Oak House.
Yeah.
And Oak House obviously sounds very cottagey. It's
well, it is a cottage. We've created a cottage, and it's clean, it's bright, it's airy. It looks like a cottage. So,
and the other one is we call it Little Touch of Grey.
Yeah.
Because it is a lot more moody. It's darker in colours. Right. We'll show pictures of both huts.
We'll link it.
As we talk about them through the podcast, and we'll obviously link you to the website if you're interested. To come and stay at any point or any time in the podcast.
Absolutely. Reach out as well. If you reach out, we can give you a discount. So feel free to do that.
So the Little Touch of Grey has lots of leather. That was like a leather couch that we've designed and made.
Yeah.
It's a fluted leather couch.
Yeah.
We've got lots of dark colours. The kitchen has snake skin on the kitchen doors that are handmade and sprayed with car lacquer finish.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's very animalistic.
Yeah.
It's so you're visually excited by all of these animal-like things. Like you said, the sturgeon in the bathroom and in the bedroom, in the niche above the bed where you put your cups and stuff. There's the Serengeti vision of the Serengeti.
Then we've got the octopus as well.
And also the snakeskin on the doors, like I mentioned. So you can use visual, but then there's also the smooth jazz playing in the background. There's also the different scent in that room.
Yeah.
And we also have underfloor heating, so you have the feel, the touch, the smell.
Yeah.
And if you can engage all these things, you make the experience seem way more interesting. And that's why we have so many good reviews. I think we've got over 300 5-star reviews on Amazon, on Airbnb and Booking.com now.
Yeah.
And we're continuing to get customers repeat customers paying £400 plus per night when we have people in the area who are doing also shepherd's huts.
Yeah.
But they are charging £100 to £125 a night.
And there's nothing wrong with those huts.
There's nothing wrong with them.
They just all look the same.
They are just not different.
Yeah.
It's you can buy a cabin on eBay for about 25 grand.
Yeah.
And rent it out for £100 a night. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
But and that will be a very quick solution.
Yeah.
But you won't be maximizing the rate that you're able to charge.
Yeah.
Because you're not any different to anyone else.
That's right.
Like I said earlier, you can escape competition through authenticity. If you're authentic to your own style, no one can copy it.
That's right.
They can literally copy it. They're going to have to spend a year copying your design one by one. The difference is that your next one's going to be different.
That's what I was going to say. By the time they've done that,
and you will have experienced,
we've already moved on. So competition, you've got to forget about it. Look, one of the things I'm going to touch on really briefly here is, which is quite important as well, is that when we did this business, we recognised that we're out in the countryside. So this is actually quite important. So all that this property has is peace and quiet. So an ordinary hut, people would get bored. So I very much knew straight away, the brief was, our huts have to be so luxurious that not only is it a room that you're putting your head down. Remember, there's no theatres around here. There's no cinemas or anything like that. So you come into this hut, it's about being in this hut. If you have a box ordinary standard hut, people they won't even want to be here. The minute they get here, they'll just want to put their luggage and get out. I knew from the beginning that we had to create something that, and I love this idea. It's a little hut, so there's going to be couples coming here. I love the idea of creating something that a couple then, they are the entertainment. They are entertaining themselves, and we are providing them such a beautiful surrounding that they get to have great memories with that. And that's what I think that's what I think I'm passionate about, is creating memories for people. We've had so many people get engaged. We've had so many birthdays. We've had all sorts of, so many things like that. And every time one of those, Matt will tell me, oh, look, he's planning, he's going to propose. I love that, because they're basically confirming to me that they've looked at our website, they've seen it, and they've thought to themselves,
this is the right place.
Yeah, this is the right place to do it. And
that takes a lot of
It does take a lot of thought. But what I'm trying to say here is, like Matt said, if you buy a shepherd's hut like you buy for £25,000 and you do it like everybody everywhere else, you're going to limit your market. For very little effort, you can turn that around, and you can make your hut, which could be at the back of your garden. It could be, it could be on another farmhouse. It could be anywhere where it is. For just pushing it out, pushing the boundaries, and making something really beautiful. People will book it. People will find you. The hotel business it's a tough business. It's a tough business. You just have to look at their rates during the year, how it fluctuates up and down. Sometimes they do 2 nights for the price of one, and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's because a hotel is a hotel. Why do people go to a hotel? Because they're going to go to the theatre, or they're going to go to the cinema, and it's just somewhere they put their bed. If it's beautiful, perfect, that's really, really nice. But a Holiday Inn and all that kind of stuff, that's all it is. It's somewhere you put your bags and you get out. What we're specifically talking about here is creating really special little properties that, one, you're really, really proud of. 2, you're getting rewarded for it. So that's great. You just be rewarded for something that you're good at. And 3, it's like it's good money. You can earn some really, really good money. So for that little bit of extra effort, do it. Just put some effort into making it look really special. Yeah. So
I think this with this podcast, we're going to be quite free flowing with the kind of things that we talk about. But we will touch on not only the business that we've started, but design in general, and how, like I said previously, how you can go about finding your creativity within yourself. So if you're a property owner or a landlord, or you're wanting to get into the interior design world, how you can do that. For example, like I said, like you said earlier, about looking through more magazines, exposing yourself to more things, buying multiple items and making decisions, actually having it in front of you, focusing on detail, finding the right people to build for you is extremely important. Put them on small projects first, and then see what their skills are, and then if they're only good for first fix, then just use them for first fix. If they're good for second fix, put them on a little project that you think will test them for a larger project.
Yeah.
Then work their way up, and that's the way that you can get the quality of finish that you're looking for.
That's right.
And I think that specifically about holiday lets, we're going to be talking about some of the tactics that you can use to test a location without spending any money. How you can check to see whether people will actually book your property before you've even built it.
That's right.
And maybe we'll talk a little bit more about business as well, and even psychology of purchasing, and how people go down buying decisions. And I think that a lot of the things that I find interesting about your knowledge is your knowledge of high-end clients. And I think we'll probably touch more on high-end clients and how you can attract them if you're in a service-based role and you want to actually provide furniture, or you want to do services for clients, how you can attract those clients who will pay top dollar. So if you're interested in those kind of topics, then
follow us.
If you're interested in those kind of topics, then please do subscribe, because we're going to be, this is just the start of something new. And I think that if you're like me, the reason why I wanted to start talking with Francis online is because I found so much value in opening my mind up to thinking in a different way. Because when I used to make decisions on purchasing decisions, you can very often get stuck with analysis paralysis on, oh, which one should I choose? I don't know if that will work. What if I buy that one and it's not going to work? I'm going to waste my time. And being exposed to your creative thinking has helped me develop a different way of looking at things when it comes to purchasing. And not only that, it's helped me ideas that I don't necessarily think are practically we might be able to practically execute. I've taken it with a pinch of salt and then go, what about this? And then you go, okay, well, that could also, we could do that, and maybe we can make it like this, and maybe we can do that. So when someone provides you with an idea that you don't necessarily think will work, don't just pass it off and go, oh no, that's not going to work, it's not going to work for me, and then just completely shut the idea down, because that stops the creativity. If you can go, okay, maybe if we tweak it slightly, maybe if we tweak it a little bit more, and that's how I think you doodle the idea of and generate ideas, and also develop ideas into something that is really special. And I think that the more we can, I don't know, in real life show that, for example, maybe we'll do some comparisons of different designs, or talk about furniture that we're currently building,
and show people our process.
We can show how that process came about. For example, we're currently building a Balinese property. Both of us flew to Bali in May last year, and we went on a buying trip basically, because we wanted to create a completely unique cabin that has never been made in the UK before. And we're calling it Little Bamboo Bali. Because it's literally made from bamboo on the exterior. And on the interior, we're choosing very similar sorts of interior design concepts that they have in Bali, but we're doing it with our English touch. And that's why we called the company that we're
Little Lux London.
Little Lux London basically is in a similar way where you might go to Thailand and have a pad thai on the street, a street food. And then you come back to England and you try the English version.
That's right.
The one in Thailand, yes, it's been made in Thailand. But it's been done very slapdash, because they're having it for the purpose of nutrients, and they want to eat and they want to continue on and go for the day. But when you bring it to, for example, a London restaurant, they tweak it a little bit more. They make it that little bit extra. Oh, maybe let's add a little bit more lime, because the flavor profile will be a lot better. Maybe a little bit less sugar than the ones that's just been sprayed in the street food restaurant. The way that we started this company is thinking, how can we take an existing type of palette of design, and how can we refine it to make it done in the Little Lux London way.
Yeah, the Little Lux London. I mean, so I'm a little bit older than Matthew, and I grew up in the generation of things being made in England, or things made in the USA, or things made in Spain. It meant something.
Now everything is shipped off to China.
It really did. Yeah, it really that really meant something. One of my obsessions are antiques. And the reason I like and it can be anything. It can be a thimble, it can be a mug, it could be mirrors, it could be a sofa. One of the things I love about antiques is that the detail in that, the craftsmanship in it, is just unbelievable.
You can't get it anymore.
You can't get it anymore. And unfortunately, you know,
you're buying a bit of history.
When we at the beginning of this video were mentioning the 90% and the 10%, that's not just because that's what humans are like. We are being conditioned, so we are being conditioned to buy flat pack furniture. People, you know, my children don't really know what an antique is, or how detailed something can be and be functional. And that is one of the things that you know, the Little Lux London brand, Matt and I really want. You know, we acknowledge and we're quite proud of the UK and the way we design. You know, Matt, especially with his engineering mind, that's a talent. And you know, we want. That's why we've called our brand Little Lux London. Even though we're doing Bali huts and we're doing New York style huts and we're doing country huts, we want that brand to represent the standards of UK craftsmanship, which has been
lost a little bit.
It has been lost, but we're a new generation. We want to bring that back, and I think people are hungry for that as well. And so
that helps set you apart from the competition.
It does help you set you apart. I mean, what we're saying here is a little bit like, you might think, oh my god, this is quite overwhelming. I just want to do a hut, and I just want to. But if you just slowly listen to what we're saying and what we're trying to like push across here, is just be a little bit braver. Just you can make some really good revenue with these projects. Remember, there's no competition out there whatsoever. You are your own competition, and just good luck with it, and just, you know, try and just be brave. And you don't have to commit to anything. Like I said, just draw stuff. You know, have a little go. Ask people. Don't ask too many people, especially if you're not talented. But you know, talk to people. If you have an idea, just look it up just go online, see how things are executed. And if you need to reach out. Matt and I are really keen on helping other people to do this. We don't, you know, so if you want to reach out to us, out to us. We've got no problem sharing whatever you need, because I get pleasure out of that anyway, you know. So it's like,
So thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
We're going to leave a link in the description for both of these huts in the description on the YouTube channel. And if you want to come and see them yourself, obviously we're going to plug our own business.
Absolutely.
So if you want to come and see them, you're welcome to book, and you can even meet us in person if you want to.
Yep.
But in the future, this first session podcast is a bit more of a free flowing conversation.
Well, we have to kind of like show you. Well, it's very broad.
Yeah.
But we want you to kind of like get an idea of who we are, and by hearing me talk and by hearing Matthew talk, you can kind of like get a picture of what it is, who brings what, and what how it works. So this is like, we've just spattered out a load of information here with a hell of a lot of injection of creativity, which is everything. It's key. But we will do future podcasts which are slightly more focused in certain solutions for you. So it's almost like a step to step, you know, a step to try and achieve what we're doing. So this is just our intro. See what works. It might go out. It may not even go out. So, but it's a good first video.
It'll be an interesting story just to watch in the past, the first podcast versus the the most recent podcast.
Well, funny you say that, because another thing you should do as well is do listen to podcasts and stuff like that, because there's a good chance that if you do this, do the same thing as well. Share your journey, because it's a great thing to share, and actually just keep it archived, and you know, you can give this to your children one day or whatever, and it can help them. You know, it can help them. Same way what we're talking about here, you can put what our ethos or the things we're talking about. You you could be a restaurant owner. You can be honestly anything any kind of business you're doing. If you put the same thought process behind it, I'm pretty sure you can make it work just by standing out and being. You could be a mechanic and have the most beautiful shop in the world and whatever, and make it practical, whatever. But creativity does sell. It is a beautiful thing to do, and it's good fun as well.
So if you want to learn more about design, if you want to increase your nightly rate, if you're a landlord, then keep listening.
Yeah.
Subscribe, please do subscribe, because it helps us. We want to grow this channel into something a bit bigger.
Yeah.
And just help people with their design issues. I think of it as problem solving for design, because I'm obviously always trying to solve problems in my head, engineering problems.
Yeah.
But I think that especially if you're an engineering minded person, learning how to solve design problems is completely different to how you solve engineering problems, where you have a load of parameters and you're trying to work with those. You're trying to do it the opposite way. You're working your way out rather than your way in.
That's right.
And I think that that is interesting to me. I think it's interesting to Francis. And if you find it interesting, then please do subscribe and like this video if you did like the video, because it helps rank the video better and then more people can see it. But yeah, I've been Matt. This is
Francis.
And we'll see you on the next one.
All right, good luck.
Thanks for watching.
Cheers.